This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics, innovative solutions for creative people.
Hello, thank you very much. I'm Michael Hill. I run Radioplayer, which is a collaboration between the BBC and commercial radio, and I've got lots of gratuitous props. Radioplayer was launched to make it simple to listen to the radio. We've done that on computers, we've done it on mobiles, we've done that on tablets, and we have helped grow online listening as a result. But today, I'm going to make two announcements about taking Radioplayer to the next level, to new countries and to new devices. On that second one, we're developing something which could change the way that people use their radios. We're doing it by going back to first principles. Radio should be simple. At its purest, the radio experience is about solely what's coming out of the speakers, the gig, the concert, the drama, the debate. Now, this radio is in my bathroom at home. 2 knobs, it only gets FM. It's the simplest home radio I've ever used. This radio used to be in the first car I ever owned. Again, the simplest car radio I've ever used. Here's another way of looking at it. I was going to put a pie chart up, but we're in bake-off season, so my wife's baked a cake chart. She spent most of yesterday doing that. This whole thing represents the radio experience. Now, ideally, 100% of that would be what's coming out of the speakers, but that's never possible. There's always a bit of gubbins that gets in the way. Now, on these radios, the gubbins is really minimal, okay? So I'm going to cut a thin slice of cake in my cake chart to represent the gubbins on these radios. Very minimal, like that. Come back to that in a minute. So the whole thing, product, programs, plus gubbins, is the radio experience. Now that simple, almost frictionless experience is what we were first set up to achieve online back in 2011. That's when we launched the first radio player for computers. Now back then, everything online was going bonkers. Facebook, Yahoo, Google, YouTube, everything was going bonkers, except for online radio. It was flatlining. And the reason was the gubbins. The gubbins was not simple. Everyone had different web players. These are some of the pop-up players that existed then. They all worked differently. Some of them didn't work at all. The gubbins was introducing friction into the experience. So we got together, we designed a better web player, we rolled it out across the industry, and within 18 months, we'd helped to grow online listening by 40%. Now, this is how that pop-up radio player looks today. Even though they're very different companies, the web player looks similar. It's the best web player in the world. And we've since added world-leading discovery apps for radio on tablet and mobile. Now, world-leading. I don't use that phrase lightly. Dozens of countries are following our lead from what we've done here in the UK. Norway and Belgium have already licensed our technology to roll out radio player systems of their own. And this is my first big announcement of today. I'm very proud to say that the international radio player family is growing. We have a signed contract with Germany. Germany, broadcasters in Germany have got together and they have decided, as we did, that radio needs simplifying online. Instead of building it themselves, they are commissioning UK radio players, systems and technology to do it. Our little non-profit that we started is turning into an international technology success story, which is why we've got to keep pushing forward. As I said at the beginning, there are huge new challenges for radio beyond the ones we've helped with so far. Streaming, apps, they are important, and we've made a big difference there, but it's a big difference to a small number. The reality is, most radio listening is done on these, actual radios, in bedrooms, in kitchens, and in cars. Now, as an industry, we've added lots more stations recently by broadening out from AM and FM onto DAB, onto internet, and now even DAB+ we're starting. And that's great, but have we achieved that choice at the expense of simplicity? These are some of the best-selling multi-platform radios in the UK. They sound great, they look great, they can get loads more stations than that. But on many of them, you come up against a menu at some point that looks something like this. I've mocked this up. A listener has to know what these things are. They're effectively several radios in one box. Now, my neighbour across the road, Pat, she came across the other day. She knows I work in radio. She's a Radio 4 fan. She listens all the time in her kitchen. She'd heard some promos for a programme on 4 Extra. She was desperate to listen. She couldn't find it on her radio. She's got a DAB radio. We're in a great reception area. Of course, the problem was she'd always been listening on FM. She'd never noticed until now. She'd never spotted the button to switch between DAB and FM to get 4 Extra. Now, Pat's not stupid, but her radio made her feel stupid. We're seeing the same problem in cars too, even those with new digital radios fitted. Here's how it feels to use the DAB radios in 3 popular cars, starting with VW. There's that platform choice you ought to make early on. Once you vanish down one of those holes, you're into a whole new world of gubbins. You've got to choose your multiplex before you can listen. Next car we're in is a Ford Focus, very popular car in the UK. This seems to have forgotten the stations. Station not available in block 12D, whatever that means. You press the button, 35 seconds later, and I've truncated that, you're eventually able to listen to the radio. And the Seat Leon, this is just to show you how even your presets are split by platform. If I go into DAB or FM, say FM first preset's Radio 1. If I switch platform, I go into DAB, my first preset's BBC 3 Counties. Now, we know why that might be, okay? Radio geeks just understand this stuff, all right? But Pat doesn't, she wouldn't, and no one normal would understand why preset 1 suddenly changes. Why is that? Now, remember this cake chart. Oh, I must say thank you, by the way, to DRUK. They shot that sequence and let me use that. On this cake chart, the whole thing represents the radio experience. That little slice represents the tuning gubbins for simple radios, okay? I am worried that for Pat and for drivers of those cars, that gubbins is increasing. I mean, I think it's actually going up quite a long way. It could even be as much as that much gubbins out of the whole experience. And that's a problem. That really is. Because radio is losing its simplicity. Why is that a problem? Because simplicity is what they call a hygiene factor for radio. Hygiene factor, best illustrated by the toilets in a restaurant. You go to a restaurant to eat, you don't go for the loos. And if the loos are fine, they're fine. But if you were in a restaurant and you went into this, you'd never eat there again. A hygiene factor can really screw you up. It can be a very small part of the cake, but it can have a disproportionately huge effect on your experience. And I believe that's what radio's in danger of suffering from. Now, Matt Deegan, radio should be simple. Reminder of that, because everything else in our life is getting simpler too. My phone, it just switches between 2G, 3G, 4G, and Wi-Fi for the internet. It just works. Matt once said this on Twitter, that Radioplayer is R&D for UK radio. I like that, it's good. We asked ourselves, if we were to R&D this problem, what would we do? Now, in 2002, it turns out that Heinz had a similar problem. Not with radios, but with ketchup. Everybody loved their product, but their sales were flatlining. So they did some R&D. Their research showed them that people hated trying to get ketchup out of a glass bottle because it's really difficult. Okay? That was making people nervous. Ketchup is a pseudoplastic substance. When it's static, it's thick. When you agitate it, it thins. Okay? Hey, science in the Royal Institute. So they made a really brave decision. Back then, this was very novel. They went over to the upside-down squeezy bottle, frictionless gubbins. Sales went through the ceiling as a result. This quote is on the wall at Twitter. It's not a very good picture, but it says, a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. We agree with that. So we built this. We call it our shed radio, because that's where it was made, in my shed. This prototype is properly hybrid. It's multi-platform, but it has a single station list. And here, I must acknowledge the work Radio DNS, James Cridland, and Nick Piggott have done to lay the groundwork for all this. There's no way that any of this would have been possible without them. Then came this, the shoebox radio. You can see why we call it the shoebox radio. Built by the excellent Andy Buckingham, who's here today. Now, bear in mind, he had to make several trips across London with this thing in his backpack. It looks more like a bomb than I imagine most actual bombs look. So it's very lucky that he looks like an innocent schoolchild. Again, this is properly hybrid. It's multi-platform, but has a single station list. It scans constantly the DAB, DAB+, and FM for the best signal. Now, we've been testing this in a place that's very important for radio, the car. 20% of listening is done in car in the UK, much more in other countries, but it presents some challenges as we go digital. There are still 27 million FM-only cars on the road in the UK, even though more than 50% of new cars are getting DAB. And as we've seen, in those DAB cars even, the experience can be very patchy, and the pace of change in dashboard technology is incredible. There is major change ahead, and it's happening right now. Now, over in the States, car companies are about a year ahead of Europe. And there's a guy in radio, a guy called Fred Jacobs, who's clocked what's happening there. And he makes it his business to go around these automotive trade fairs and see what dashboards are becoming.
The main screen, which is what you're looking at here, provides all the built-in sources. Your HD radio, your DVD player, your iPod, USB. It even is satellite radio ready, and you can customize the screen however you want it to look. The second screen is our entertainment applications. This is where you would have your built-in iHeartRadio, your built-in YouTube, Opio. It even has a full web browser in it, so you can, surf the web. The third page would be our social media page, which will interface various different social media sites as well as messaging. So, for instance, I can interface my Facebook, my Twitter, and my email.
Yep, you heard that correctly. You can interface your Facebook at 70 miles an hour. Status update, crashed. And there's some other big players moving in this space too.
In the coming generation Volvo cars, Apple CarPlay is part of your in-car experience, enabling you to fully interact with the features of your iPhone through the user interface of your car. At your command, you can send messages,
Message to Emily. Let's get lunch soon.
access maps in the same environment and manner as you're used to, without being distracted or leaving sight of what is important. Through the clever integration in the center touch screen, you get full overview while you can still interact with both Apple CarPlay and your Volvo simultaneously.
Okay, smug Swedish woman and smug technology company get together and make a video, but a prize for anyone who spotted the radio button there. It's not there. When you ask Apple how broadcast radio fits into all this, they say it's up to the car manufacturers. And when you ask the car manufacturers how radio fits into all this, they can't tell you because they don't really know yet. It turns out, actually, integrating broadcast radio, the stuff that we do, analog and digital on multi-platforms, into that kind of digital experience is really difficult. It's not like whacking a Spotify logo onto a touchscreen. That's much easier. We've got different platforms, different frequencies, we've got service following, where do you get the logos from? It's a right old mess. Which is where I come to our big announcement. I believe we've got to make it not just simpler for the listener, but simpler for the car companies to build radio in too. So we took that shoebox prototype and we shrunk it down to this. It's a multi-platform hybrid radio module. It solves all the issues that we've talked about today. It's properly multi-platform, properly hybrid. It doesn't feel like several radios in one box. It creates one station list intelligently from everything it can scan on DAB, DAB+, FM, and 3G, and it does all that scanning in the background, so you can still listen. If it loses a signal from, say, DAB, it degrades to FM. If it loses the FM, it looks for it on 3G. It does it all in the background. There's no cognitive load for the user at all. It hides all that platform complexity from the listener. Now, this module could be built into just about any kind of radio, but we've decided to start by making it a digital adapter for those 27 million FM-only cars. Radio and cars. They go together like fish and chips. With your eyes on the road, you can listen to music, news, chat, sport, weather, whatever. It's the original multitasking medium, which is why in the UK we listen to 230 million hours of radio in our cars every week. But what if you've discovered some great new digital stations on an app like Radioplayer? History, BBC Six Music, Absolute 80s, Fun Kids, but you're stuck with a car that can only get FM radio. It's frustrating. You can try using an app to stream radio in your car, but they're not the whole answer. Mobile data coverage is quite patchy in the UK, especially away from the motorways. At Radioplayer, we're always looking for ways of simplifying radio on phones, tablets, computers, so we've been looking at how we could help in cars. And this is what we've come up with. It's a new way of upgrading your car stereo. It combines the best things about broadcast radio with the best things about app radio. With this little box fitted behind your dashboard and a small aerial stuck to your windscreen, you can get all your favourite stations and do loads more besides. The sound comes out of your existing stereo via the aux input, and you control it using this app over a Bluetooth connection. Swipe anywhere on the screen and you can step through your favourites with your eyes on the road. The black box automatically works out the best way of receiving each station. No manual switching between wavebands or frequencies. It just works. And if you lose reception, it just finds another way to play the station you're listening to, automatically. But it's not just a great radio, it helps you stay in touch too. We've all had people send us texts while we're driving, but it's not safe to look at them. So, the app tells you one's coming in.
Incoming message from John.
And then it reads it out for you.
Hi Mike, we are now meeting at the pub at 6, so don't rush your tea.
And if it's safe to do so, you can scroll your contact list and make a phone call. It will automatically tell you about major travel problems ahead of you on the road, or you can ask it for a more general update about the area you're in.
There are currently no major problems to report on the roads closest to you.
If you want to look beyond your favourite stations, you can swipe over to Seek mode.
Seeking stations.
It plays 5 seconds of each available station, and you can tap the screen to lock onto one you like.
Kiss, tap to play.
Or you can swipe sideways once more and start shuffling your own music, or playing through a particular playlist, maybe kid stories, or great driving tunes.
Shuffling your music.
So that's what we've been working on at Radioplayer. At its heart, it's a great radio that just works. Simple, yet sophisticated. And when the sun goes down, and you need your night vision, it will automatically fade gently into night mode. Keep an eye out, it'll be available soon. In the meantime, thanks for watching. So that's what we're working on, as the man said. You're the first people to see that prototype, ever, apart from the people who are working on it. So I need to know what you think. You know, you are the great and the good of the radio industry, you are the ideas people, you are the thinkers. Please talk to me. How can we make that better? What could it be built into? Could it be the heart of a great Bluetooth speaker? Could it be the heart of a great kitchen radio? It's the first time I've seen a proper multi-platform hybrid radio experience in one box. Now, we're trying to rebalance the equation. We're trying to keep what's great about those multi-platform radios, huge choice, great quality, but get back to the simplicity of these. Can we have our cake and eat it? I believe we can, but not till lunchtime, and we need to save a bit for my son, or he'll be really pissed off. Thank you.
This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.